Huge news, the moment we have all been waiting for. So the long-awaited ETF that was launched on the New York Stock Exchange under the symbol BITO has launched. It initially rose 3% when it began trading and was lately up 1.6% to $40.63 in its debut this morning. It is linked to the Bitcoin futures that are traded on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. So all pretty exciting news for the crypto space. And another story that goes along with all of this ETF news is Grayscale is now filing with the SEC to convert its Bitcoin Trust into an ETF. This is not something new that they've just decided to do. This is something they've been trying to do since 2016 and have been unsuccessful, along with all of the other people who've been trying to get ETFs since that time. But hopefully now that we've gotten the ball rolling and we finally have a Bitcoin ETF of sorts, maybe they will have more luck. So an exciting moment, guys. Well, I'm going to throw it to you to start off with. What are your thoughts on all of this? Where are we headed with ETFs?
Headed upwards, I hope. I think the BITO ETF is like a good kind of hallmark of where we are at in this space right now. Institutional adoption is obviously a huge headline, but this Grayscale Trust moving into an ETF would be an even bigger movement for the total economy. So $50 billion of crypto assets are locked up in this trust, and it's been kind of the namesake of the entire cryptocurrency industry's kind of toehold on Wall Street. If you didn't have this package for investors to dip into over the last few years, there'd be a lot less institutional interest in crypto itself. And the fact that you can convert this into an ETF only makes the project bigger and also bring more people into space to look at this legacy product. Because you're looking at like BITO and you're looking at some of these other ETFs, they haven't launched yet. They don't have a history of running. They don't have a good custodian set up. Grayscale has all these things already packaged. They've been doing it for years. And just like you said, Naomi, they've been waiting to do this for years. They've been waiting and waiting and waiting. I've seen them throw this application up a few times in the past, and now it seems the moment is here. I'm going to throw this down to you, Jen, though.
And I don't know if anyone will have any answers, but the Grayscale ETF application is for a spot ETF, and Gary Gensler has not been as favorable to ETF.
Jen, we're losing you all
Oh,
over.
no. All right. I'm going to jump in here because there's some interesting things. Oh, I think she's back. Are we going to trust her connection, though? Then take it away. Let's see what we got.
I don't know where you lost me. But the ETF that Grayscale is filing is for a spot ETF, and Gary Gensler hasn't been really favorable when he talks about spot ETFs. He's more favorable towards futures ETFs. So I wonder, I lost my train of thought when I froze there, but Will, why do you think that Grayscale would submit this application given the comments that have come out of the SEC?
Yeah, it's difficult to look inside Gary Gensler's head. That's been the decisions he's been making has been shocking to most people in the industry so far. So who knows what's going to happen? No predictions there. But I think if you're looking at the ETF space, to have one go through means that there's more than likely others going to follow suit. They're not going to limit the competition to just one product, and they're certainly not going to limit it just to one company. So it's not just going to be ProShares. There's going to be others. There's going to be spot at some future point. It does depend on what the SEC wants. And in my mind's eye, the SEC is going to want somebody that they trust, that's been in the space for a while, that obviously has all their stuff together. And I think that Grayscale, in this sense, would make sense to be able to issue something like this. That would be my assumption here. Of course, there's a lot of other responsible ETF providers out there who could do spot as well. So not saying that they won't go at the same time, or those other ETF providers wouldn't even precede Grayscale in issuing a spot Bitcoin ETF. Naomi, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, it's interesting because you had the CEO of Grayscale, Michael Sonnenschein, who said that he views this move from the SEC as bullish for Bitcoin because if regulators are comfortable with derivatives tied to cryptocurrency, it suggests that they're comfortable with the underlying asset class. But we are yet to see the SEC be comfortable enough with that asset class to allow an ETF to be based on it. And Sonnenschein has spoken out against an ETF pegged to a futures market rather than the underlying asset in the the past, he said that, first of all, there's a cost differential between them. A futures-based ETF would cost investors more in fees because of the inherent expense of rolling over futures contracts as they expire. But it doesn't really seem to be a reason why an ETF based on futures would be, inherently bad or why you should be skeptical of it. It's just why it may be an inferior product for consumers. But he also said that if a futures-based ETF comes to market without the ability for Grayscale BTC to convert to an ETF, it has the potential to harm investors who hold tens of billions of dollars worth of GBTC today outright, as well as the investors who have exposure to GBTC inside mutual funds, retirement accounts, and other places. So the idea is that perhaps the fact that Grayscale has to either, their fund is either at a premium or at a discount, and so having something that's tied to futures may be more desirable to people, and people would switch over, and then that could potentially hurt the underlying value of the Grayscale Trust, which is a risk because so many people are holding it right now. I mean, it's just kind of interesting to me that all of his reasons why this futures ETF are not good seem to be because it would hurt Grayscale. So it seems very self-motivated there. I'm not quite sure I quite understood the inherent issue with a futures ETF there.